Crystal Everdeen, and today I'm going to share with you how to crochet these flower coasters. Now this method is going to be a little bit unconventional, but I find it easiest to do it this way. I think it looks the best, but you'll understand what I mean in a bit. Anywho, for this project I am using 3 different colors of yarn: yellow, pink, and white, and they're all size 4 100% acrylic. I also have a pair of scissors, a needle and thread, and I'm using a size 5mm hook. I also have links to yarn in the description box below. If you don't know where you can purchase yarn, you could use them via my Amazon affiliate links, linked in the description box below. Another thing that's linked in the description box below is my Crocheting for Beginners video. So if you're a complete beginner to crochet, please go ahead and check that out. I go over how to hold your hook, how to make basic stitches, and so on and so forth. But I'll try to make this tutorial as easy to follow as possible if you are a beginner. But yeah, all those resources are in the description box down below. Go ahead and check them out if you need to. But let's go ahead and get started. So I'm going to start off with my yellow yarn because that is going to be the center of the flower. And then from making the center of the flower, we're going to make the petals with the white yarn. And then we're going to make the background with the pink yarn. But of course you could use whatever colors you'd like. That's just what I'm going to be using for this project. So first thing I'm going to do is grab my yellow yarn and create a slip knot. So then from there I'm going to chain only 2. So I'm going to chain 1 and 2. Then I'm going to go into that very first chain that I created and crochet 6 single crochets, and a single crochet is through the stitch, then yarn over, back through the stitch, yarn over again, then back through 2 loops left on your hook. And you're just going to keep going into that same opening and create those 6 single crochets. So this is my 3rd, and then this is going to be my 4th, 5th, and 6th single crochet. And you're going to be left with a little cluster like this. Then from here we're going to slip stitch into that first single crochet that you made in this row, and that's going to complete this row, that slip stitch. And again, you're left with a tiny little circle like this. And then from here we're going to build upon it by going into the previous row's single crochets and making another row of single crochet, but we're going to add some stitches by making 2 single crochets every other stitch. So I made 1 single crochet in that first stitch, and now I'm going to make 2 single crochets in this next stitch. And then in the stitch after that, I'm just going to make 1 single crochet, and then the stitch after that, I'm going to make 2 single crochets. And the reason why we need to do this is because we want the circle to get bigger and bigger. And in order to do that, you need to increase the number of stitches total. And to do that, you just go ahead and add 2 stitches per 1 stitch. But I don't want it to increase too fast, so I just do it every other stitch instead of every stitch. And you just continue with this pattern, going around and around and growing your circle piece until you're happy with the size of the center of the flower. And once you're happy with the size of the center of your flower, you're just going to cut the yarn from the yarn ball, leaving some space, making sure to leave some yarn as a little tail. That way you can make 1 last slip stitch and then start tucking in that loose end throughout the entire circle piece, just so it's nice and out of the way. You could also cut it off if you would like. I'm just going to tuck it in a bit so it's out of the way, and then I'm going to cut all the loose ends at the end of the entire project. So I'm just going to tuck it in one last time. And now we have completed the center of the flower. Now, you don't have to do this, but I actually went ahead and made 2 pieces, and I'll show you why later. But so grab your 1 piece and then grab the color that you're going to use for your petals. Again, I'm just using white yarn for this. And you get to attach it anywhere on the circle. And once you choose where to attach it to, just put your hook through that stitch, grab your yarn, bring it on through that stitch, and then chain 3. 1, 2, 3. And this is going to be the beginning of our very first petal. So from here, you're going to create what I call a triple crochet, which is kind of like a modified treble crochet if you are familiar with normal crochet terms, but I kind of tend to make things up as I go along because I taught myself how to crochet and sometimes I just make things up. So anywho, what I do is I yarn over, go through the stitch, yarn over again, back through the stitch, then I yarn over, chain 1, yarn over, chain 2, yarn over, and go through 2 loops, and I'm just going to leave the last 2 right here. And then I'm going to do that again. I'm going to go into the same stitch, yarn over, go through the stitch, yarn over, back through the stitch, yarn over, and then chain 1, 2, then yarn over, and then go through 2 loops. And then I'm going to do that one last time, yarn over, through the stitch, yarn over, back through the stitch, yarn over, chain 1, chain 2, yarn over, through 2 stitches, and then you have 4 loops left on your hook, and you're just going to yarn over and go through all of them, and that's going to be your little petal. Then I kind of like to also add one last double crochet just to kind of bring it back down. So I'm going to go into that same stitch and then just do a little double crochet just to make it a little bit rounder like this. And then from here I'm going to go into the next stitch and I'm going to single crochet, and then I'm going to go into the next stitch and also single crochet. But then from here I'm going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and make another petal. So yarn over, through the stitch, yarn over, back through the stitch, yarn over, chain 1, 2, then yarn over through 2 loops. Yarn over, through the stitch, yarn over, back through the stitch, yarn over, chain 1, chain 2, yarn over through 2 loops. And one last time, yarn over through the stitch, yarn over, back through the stitch, yarn over, chain 1, chain 2, yarn over, and through 2 loops. And then I'm going to yarn over and then go through all 4 loops left on my hook. And then you could either leave it like that or you can make that last double crochet inside of the same stitch to round it out. And that's what the petals look like so far. And then I'm going to do the same thing, go into the next stitch and single crochet, go into the stitch after that and single crochet, and then from here make the next petal by chaining 3, 2, and 3. Then go into the same stitch and create your triple crochets, or what I call triple crochets. You could also do a treble crochet, which a treble crochet is you yarn over twice, you go through the stitch, you yarn over, back through the stitch, yarn over through 1 loop, yarn over through 2 loops, then yarn over through the next 2 loops, and that's what a treble crochet is, and that's like more common. I'm not really sure what mine's called. I think people have called it an extended double crochet. I'm not sure, but I call it a triple crochet. Anywho, so after I've made all my triple crochets, I'm going to go through all of the loops and then make that one last double crochet. And I've got all these petals so far. I'm just going to continue with that pattern throughout the rest of the circle here. Also, if you like the petals to be more spaced out, you just make more single crochets in between. If you like them close together, then make less in between, although I'm only making 1 single crochet in between, so they're pretty close together. So 1, and then 2, and 3, last one. Then go through all the loops, make one last double crochet in the same stitch, and voila! I have all these petals here. And this is what it would look like with just one in between, but now that I'm thinking about it, I think I want them to be spaced out a little bit more. So this is what it will look like if you space them out a little bit more. So instead of just making one single crochet in between, I'm going to go ahead and make 2 single crochets in between. So I had made 1 and 2, and then this is going to be the 3rd single crochet spot, and this is where I'm going to make the next petal. So I chained 3, and now I'm going to make my triple crochets like so, and 2, and 3. Then we're going to put them all together, make that last double crochet inside the same stitch to round it out. And this is what it looks like, a little bit more spaced out, which I think I like. I think I would like a total of 5 petals on my crochet coasters, so I'm going to space them out with 2 single crochets in between. So 1, 2, and then this 3rd one I'm going to make the petal, so chain 3, then go into the same stitch with my triple crochet, and then this is going to be the 2nd triple crochet and the 3rd triple crochet. Now I'm going to go through all of them and make my last double crochet inside of that same stitch, and this is what it looks like. Then I'm going to single crochet into 2 stitches, 1 and 2. Then in this 3rd one, I'm going to make the next petal. So 1, 2, 3 single crochets, then go into that same stitch and make triple crochet, 1 and 2 and 3. Then yarn over, go through all of the stitches, then make one last double crochet inside of that one stitch, then single crochet 2, and then in that 3rd stitch, I don't know if that's going to be properly, I might make this into a little star here and just put the petal right here. So I'm only going to single crochet 1 in between, and I'm going to chain 3 and make my petal right here, and I think it's going to turn out pretty cute. I like the placement of the petals, and this is what happens when you don't plan numerically. And then that was my last petal, and this is what the flower looks like. Again, if you would like more petals, then just reduce the space in between the petals and you could fit more, but I think I like my petal placement. I think 5 petals is good enough. So I'm just going to single crochet into that last stitch and then slip stitch into the very first stitch that we made the first petal in. And we've completed our first row, but of course I want to build on top of this, so all I'm going to do is make single crochets on top of the previous row's stitches, and I want to again increase the size. So in every other stitch I'm going to create 2 single crochets, that way the size of the petal can grow. So for every other stitch I will make 2 single crochets, and then I'm going to make 1 single crochet, and then the next one I'm going to make 2 single crochets, and so on and so forth, and that will grow the size of the petal. Now in between the petal, I want it to remain, like I want it to go down. I don't want it to kind of round out too much. Like if I were to single crochet straight into the next petal, then you won't really see this dip anymore, and I want this little dip. So in order to maintain that little dip, I'm going to slip stitch into the yellow part right here. And that's going to maintain that little dip, and then from here, that's when I single crochet onto the next petal. And I think that really helps maintain the flower shape. And yeah, so every other stitch, I'm going to make 2 single crochets inside of 1 stitch until I go all around the flower and I'm happy with the size of it. And of course, if you make 1 row of doing this and then you still want the flower to be a little bit bigger, then you could just do the exact same thing by making another row on top of this row. But since we're making little coasters, I think after this row, I think I'll be happy with the size of the flower, but we'll see. I haven't actually made them yet. I know you saw them in the intro, but I haven't actually made them yet. So if you're watching this video, then they came out pretty cute. So yeah, I'm just going to continue making my single crochets all throughout the petals. And you may need to really like stab the project to find where the stitches are, but if you find a place for the stitches to go, then it'll work out. So this is what the project looks like so far. This is just with making the petals by themselves, and then this is with 1 row of single crochet on top of it. And then in between the petals again, you're going to slip stitch towards the yellow and then go into the next petal. And that will really maintain the space in between. And in every other stitch, just making 2 single crochets to maintain that increase per row. So 1 and 2 inside of the same stitch, and then the next one's just 1. Then now I'm ready to go to the next petal. So slip stitch in between, reach on over to the next petal and make a single crochet. Then in the next stitch, make 2 single crochets inside of that same stitch. And then in this next one, 1 single crochet, and then in the following one, 2 single crochets. And then the next one, just 1 single crochet, and then 1 last slip stitch. And you're done with this row. And this is what the flower looks like. And if you're happy with the size, then you can move on to the next step. But now that I look at it, I actually don't like the size of it. I think it's too small. So I am going to end up making another row of single crochet all throughout the flower. So for every other stitch, I make 2 single crochets, and then 1 single crochet, then 2 single crochet. And this row is going to be a lot easier because the previous row of single crochet really shaped the project. So you'll be able to find the stitches much easier than the first time around. And again, every time you reach the dip in the petals, in between the petals, you're going to make that slip stitch to maintain that dip and avoid rounding out your petals. But yeah, so it's just going to be another row of alternating single crochets, but instead of cutting away, I will crochet with you. So alternating right here. And then once I reach this little divot, I'm going to slip stitch, then single crochet into the next petal and alternate my single crochets. Make 2 in this stitch, and then just 1 in the next one, then 2 in the one after that, and then just 1, and then just to finish off this petal, I'm just going to do 1 again, and then slip stitch to the area in between the petals, and this is what the project looks like so far. These are the 3 that we worked on, and then these 2 are the ones we have left. What a difference that one row can make. But again, it totally depends on the size you want these flowers to be. You can make these into massive coasters, or they could be tiny. You could have just made it with the petals without any extra rows, and that would have been cute as well. Totally up to you. But if you're copying exactly what I'm doing, I wanted to show you all the rows that I ended up crocheting for this project. So we're moving on to the very last petal here, and I'm just going to continue making my single crochets until I reach the very first stitch that we worked on, then slip stitch into that, and then we'll be done with the flower and halfway done with the actual project. And honestly, this is the hardest part of the project, is making the flower. The rest of it's very easy. So just a couple more stitches to complete this flower, and slip stitch into this last little divot, and I'm just gonna make one last slip stitch just to make everything a little bit easier to tuck in. I'm going to cut the yarn from the yarn ball and then bring the excess yarn through the last loop, give it a tug, and then tuck it into the back side of the flower. And once you've done that, you can cut the excess off and you'll be done with the flower. And this is what the final product is. So a cute little flower like this. And now we need to make the background. Now, normally people will show you how to make the coaster along with the heart, but I cannot stand making projects like that. My projects always come out looking wonky. So all I'm going to do is put this flower on top of a coaster, essentially what I'm going to make, and that's why I'm going to sew it on top. And the reason why I made 2 of these is because I feel like the center by itself is a little bit too see-through, and I like when I add another one on top, it kind of makes it pop. And again, that's totally optional. You don't have to do that. If you're happy with how it looks like just like that, then that's perfectly fine. I just like adding the second one on top just to, again, give it more dimension and make it pop. But so after you're done with those pieces, time to move on to the actual coaster part. Now choose whatever color you like. Again, I'm choosing to use this pink color, and now I need to find the end of this. Okay, so once you have your coaster color, you're going to make a slip knot, and then from here you're going to start off the same way as you did the centerpiece. You're just going to chain 2, 1, 2, and then from here you're going to go into that very first stitch, make a single crochet followed by 5 more single crochets inside of that same opening, inside of that same stitch. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And don't worry if you have a little bit of a gap in between, because we're going to cover that with the flower. And then from here you're going to slip stitch into that very first single crochet that you made for this row, and you're left with a little cluster like this. And then you're going to start single crocheting on top of the previous row of single crochet, making sure that you again alternate from making 1 single crochet, then 2 single crochets per stitch, then 1 single crochet stitch, then 2 single crochets per stitch, and that will help grow your project. And that's essentially all you're going to do throughout the rest of this coaster. You're just going to keep going in circles until you're happy with the size of your coaster. And at this point, this is about the same size as the center of the flower, but we're definitely going to make this a lot bigger. And again, all you're doing is going around and around and around and making alternating single crochet stitches from 2 single crochets per stitch to 1 single crochet stitch. and I'll show you the progress, but I won't, you know, make this video extra long by showing you every little stitch I do. So this is what it looks like now, and then in a few rows I'll update you. And this is what the project looks like after a few more rows. Definitely not big enough to be a coaster for this flower. I think I'm going to make them about this big, so I'm just going to continue with the same pattern of just the single crochets, and then I will update you after a few more rows after this. And this is after a few more rows. Still not quite there, barely covers the flower itself, but we want it to go a little bit more, so just a couple more rows of doing the exact same thing, building upon this circle, and then we'll be done, and I'll show you the last step, which is how to attach the flower to the coaster. So this is the final size of the coaster, and this is in comparison to the flower. So there's a decent amount of space away from the petals, and that's pretty much what I want. But of course, you can make it whatever size you want. You could make it larger if you like, or even, you know, small if you'd like. Totally up to you. Just want to let you know that I have a little tip for you. So once you're approaching the size that you like for the coaster, on your very last row, you don't have to make 2 single crochets per stitch anymore. You just make one last row, just going into every single stitch, making 1 single crochet per stitch, and that will kind of even everything out and make sure that everything is nice and flat. So once you're happy with the size of your coaster, you're just going to cut the yarn from the yarn ball. Then you're going to bring the excess yarn through the last loop, give it a tug, and then tuck in that excess fabric. That excess yarn. Sorry, I've been taking up sewing as well. But yeah, just tuck in that extra yarn, and voila, you're done with the coaster. Now it's time to attach the flower on top of the coaster. And you can attach it using yarn, but I find it easier to attach it using a needle and thread just because it's more precise and you can't see the stitching. So you're going to make sure that you line up your flower exactly how you want it to be positioned. And then you're going to start from the back and put your hook through the coaster as well as through the flower petal, and bring the thread through, give it a tug, and then just start making stitches all around the flower, just kind of outlining it. So you go through one way, then take it out the opposite way, and then through the opposite way, and then through the front, and so on and so forth. Just going to outline it, making sure that you hold the flower steady so that it's in the position that you want it to be in, because it will move around. If you have pins to pin everything in place, then you can do that, or you could just wing it like I'm doing and just hold it in place. So again, all I'm going to do is go all around the flower and secure it by sewing it in place, just going back and forth from the front to the back, all outlining the flower. And see, it's like nice and attached here. So I'm just going to continue with that, outlining the petals. You don't have to worry about anything in the center of the flower. As long as you attach it on the outside, everything will stay intact. Or rather, if you attach the outline of it, so like here, you don't really have to worry about it coming up here. But we're also going to do something in the center anyway, so it'll be more secure. Well, it's going to be optional, but I'm going to be doing something a little extra. And once I'm close to running out of thread, I'm going to make a little knot in the back, and then cut the thread, and then add new thread. And now that I've added my new thread, I'm just going to do the same thing, start from the back, then move my way to the front, and just continue sewing the flower on top of the coaster. Making sure that everything is nice and secure. And once I've gone all around, I'm going to do the same thing with the centerpiece. So I'm going to grab this little centerpiece and add it on top and just sew all around the centerpiece. And that's what the final product is going to look like. So I'm just going to end up doing that, and I will meet you back once I am done. So I'm just going to finish up this centerpiece right here. I already attached the petals together, and now I just needed to attach this one. Again, this is totally optional. You don't have to make this extra centerpiece. I just wanted to do it just because I feel like it gives it a little bit more dimension, makes it pop a little bit more. And yeah, after you're done sewing it on, you just go to the back, make a knot with your thread to make sure that it doesn't unravel or come apart, and then cut to the thread, and then any excess thread or yarn that's in the back to clean it up, and you're done with your coaster. And that's how I crocheted these flower coasters for my friend's birthday. I really hope that she likes them. Her birthday party is tonight, so we'll see. But yeah, I think these turned out really adorable, and also go with the other little gift that I gave her. I gave her one of these cups as well because I thought these are really cute. I'm like, oh, she'd really like these. And then to go along with the cup, I was like, I should crochet her, some coasters, and I think it turned out adorable. But anywho, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. This video was way slower than my normal videos. I have heard from you guys and say that my videos are often very fast, and I usually let you know the pattern and then I cut away to when I'm done. So I wanted to try something a little bit different and show you every single stitch that I do as much as possible. So let me know if you like it like this, or if you'd rather it be cut a little bit shorter so it's not just so drawn out. But yeah, if you are interested in more crochet videos, I have a ton of them on my channel, so please go ahead and check them out, ranging from beginner-friendly tutorials to more advanced, to styling my crochet, crochet with me, crochet project ideas, and so on. Also follow me on Instagram and TikTok. Both are at Krystal Everdeen. It's a fun time, and I hope to see you there. Thank you so much again for watching. I hope you found this video either interesting, entertaining, or helpful, and if you did, please get a big thumbs up before you go, and don't forget to click that red subscribe button if you have not already, so I can see you next time. Bye, and have a magical day.